Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the J Free 906 podcast. Tom Burns here with you, along with Jamie Kuba joining us again. Jamie, how you doing tonight?
Doing great, guys. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. Tom, you're still muted. Hope you're doing well too. Tom, is everything going well up there?
Oh yeah, yeah, well, yeah. Just we heard of some of this rain. It's going to rain another 6 inches in the next 2 days. So
yeah, it just
I'm just glad they're not trying to get into a garden shaft around here tonight because there wouldn't be much luck.
Oh, don't even bring. I'm so. Oh man, the garden shaft. That's one of my sore spots tonight. Oh, it really is. But we'll get to that as we go along. First of all, thank you very much, everyone, for being here with us tonight. We appreciate you coming by. I wanted to say, if you haven't already, you can subscribe to the channel. We love that. I love getting those subscribers. And we got a new milestone we just hit tonight. I've been kind of waiting for this one. 7,500 subscribers as of today. 7,500. I know. I'm pretty excited about that. You know, I found out you can actually, and this is crazy, I found out you can actually buy blocks of like 5 or 10,000 subscribers. I don't know how you would do that. I don't know why you would want to do that. Just have good content, right? I don't know. You can do that. Anyway, we're not going to do that. But anyway, no. But yeah,
boggles my mind that I guess you can buy anything if you want to spend money.
Yeah, I don't know how that would happen, but anyway. But 7,500, really excited about that. So if you would, those of you who have not, we appreciate it if you would subscribe to the channel and click on that notification bell so you know when we have new content coming out, because we often do. And we love having our fantastic guests and guest co-hosts like Jamie showing up here. So cool to have you on board. Really, it's 2 nights or 2 weeks in a row. That's awesome.
I know, I feel so lucky and loved. Thanks for having me again.
You're awesome. You're like well, I think we did a vote. We did a vote between us, and we said last year we had like the rookie of the year. And this year we're having instead of having rookie of the year, we're doing like the most valuable player.
I'll take MVP of Oak Island. I mean, I did find the silver.
So we kind of voted amongst ourselves, and you got it for us. So we'll.
It's kind of like scoring the winning goal when you get that one piece of treasure.
Yes, right? Exactly. Yes, you found the treasure on the island. So anyway, so fantastic stuff. If you would like to help support the show, you can do that. There's a bunch of different ways. You can buy a shirt or a hat or some different things. And we're going to be doing a giveaway here in a little bit. And in this giveaway, oh, thank you, Linda. In the giveaway we have tonight, we've got. I'm going to show this picture real quick. Let's see. I didn't even get the presentation started here. Let me get that going here. And so check this out, folks. You can have JK Unearthed. That's Jamie Kouba's hats. She's got her merch line going, so you can get one of her hats right there. And then also we have these 2 Roman coins. Now, obviously, Jamie is donating that hat for tonight's giveaway. And then the 2 Roman coins are from Michelle Tomeyer. She's going to be she gave those to us for a donation, so we'll do that spin for the giveaway, and I'll explain that a little bit later as we get rolling here.
You'll have to stay tuned because even I don't know when we're doing this spin tonight.
I know, they just said when are we doing it. Let's go. Let's see. Well, we'll do it right after the lab before lot 5, before we get to Jamie in lot 5. So we'll do it right there. All right, might have to remind me. So yeah, we got that going on. What I wanted to start, we are going to be covering season 11, episode number 20, Wet and Wild tonight. But before we get there, I kind of wanted to talk just a little bit about last week. We, with John Edwards, who is, he's co-hosted here, all season 9, John and I did season 9 together. And then he was able to now present in the War Room on Oak Island, which is a huge honor. So he got to do that. So we talked a little bit about his presentation last week. And again, he was on again last night on the show, expanding upon that and giving him some points to look at.
Appearance number 2.
What's that?
Appearance number 2.
Yeah, I know. And that's
waiting
awesome.
For number 3.
He very well might get a number 3. So what I wanted to do was I wanted to kind of go over a little bit about what he covered last week that we talked about, and kind of covered Oh, that's one coin. Sorry. Okay. Linda said that's one coin, the front and the back. I'm sorry. I got confused if it was 2 coins or one. All right. Thank you, Linda. Appreciate that. Linda's working hard down there with the chat. And we appreciate her very much because we've been running about 1,200 chat messages for a show. And you can imagine how fast those go by. So she does a great job with those.
I don't know how she does it.
And Jan doing our synopsis for us. Wouldn't know what to do without these.
Yep.
So thank you, Jan, for that very much. All right, so let's show this. Now, if you remembered last week's show, John had talked about the book that they are looking for that had this map drawn in it. And Rick Lagina came out on the Curse of Oak Island X social media page. He came out and he did a little video on there looking for this book. They clarified it later because I was saying they're not looking for any copy of this particular book. They're looking for this copy.
That exact copy. Yep.
Yes. The one that has the map drawn in it so they can get a little bit, they want to test it and vet it and see what it's all about. And then see if because you can see there's kind of looks to me like some bleed through on the other side. There may be something on the page. I'd kind of like to see what that is. But our good friend that you guys may know, Henry DeWitt, Henry and Tom, and I, mostly Henry and Tom, I got involved in it a little bit later, had done a lot of looking into this particular map. And it has swept across all social medias having anything to do with the Curse of Oak Island. And Jamie has seen some of it too. We were just talking about this in the pre-show. But there's several points about this map that I'd like to kind of talk with you about that we noticed. Doesn't mean it's true, doesn't mean it's actual, just interesting things.
This is just us speculating.
And
going down a few rabbit holes we probably shouldn't go down.
A few rabbit holes, indeed. Yes, indeed. But some interesting points about this map that because of course you see Oak Island there, you see a big ship down here, and then you see a little one up here, and it looks like the flood tunnels, and then a chamber under the ground, and this little boat here, and this line going up to this little, what is this, a temple or a castle or something like that. Okay, so here's kind of what we came up with. All right, so if you take a look at this, you can see here's like the coastline of Mahone Bay area, and you see a little marker there saying Isle of Oaks. And then you got this circle area up here. Now you got the Gold River that runs up here. And I think that my personal opinion is, and this, a lot of people have come up with the same theory about this, that this line right here on the map is also Gold River.
Could be.
And leads you up to a little town
called
that I think is New Ross. Now, what do we know about New Ross that we have seen on this show on Curse of Oak Island before? We've seen it. We've talked about it here with a wonderful lady by the name of Alessandra Nadavari. She owns property up there in New Ross that is the property that is expected or suspected to have a castle built on it. An old castle that was dismantled.
Very old castle. Like 1,000-year-old castle.
Yes, indeed. And something I wanted to point out, this particular shot right here, these pictures and this little write-up was actually done by Christopher Morford. And I was talking with him a little bit earlier today. And he gave me permission to show this and talk about it a little bit. He pointed out here on a heading of, actually it's a south. Now he had to correct this a little bit. The 157, because on the map you saw that FLX 157. And he talks in here about the coordinates. Let's see, the coordinates of 157 degrees. So if you're in New Ross, southeasterly coordinates, southeasterly 157 degrees takes you to Oak Island, or right thereabouts Oak Island, that vicinity, just outside of Oak Island, on the mainland. So that's kind of interesting. So you see the FLX 157. There was also somebody else, and this was, she's a member of our Facebook group, but I got this piece off of Ghost of Bacon, which is Jake Roberts' website and YouTube channel, Ghost of Bacon. The FLX could be, okay, I never pronounce that, but it could be translated into "Let there be light." Let there be light, which is a Masonic greeting of sorts in correspondence. And then she said you add the 157, which is a cipher of the Rosy Cross, for our Rosy Cross.
Yep. Which can be found in this book.
In that book right there. And what's that book again? Ah, yes, indeed. So, I mean, is there coding in here? Oh, absolutely. Why else would they write FLX 157 on there? Do we know exactly what it means just yet? No. But boy, some really
It's
cool.
fun to look at it.
It is really fun to look at. Yeah, so so interesting stuff there. And so New Ross does that point. Does that little town right here? Is that little town? Is that New Ross? And is that the New Ross Castle? Um, yeah. So that was Z Zantlo, who actually made that little. She and I printed out her information. That it was a post she had done on Ghost of Bacon. You can go over there and check it out. There's a Facebook page and a YouTube channel for Jake Roberts. So go over there and check it out. She's got some very, very good insights about this all. So, okay, so that was from Christopher Morford and Z. But I wanted to show we were out there at this castle. I was out there, and so was Tom. Tom was there about a year before I was. And there's Alessandra right there, along with myself. And what's that?
Is that Carmen Legg?
That is Carmen Legg, indeed.
I thought I recognized that man.
Yes, he's awesome. Out there at that property, we were there, and I got to meet Alessandra in person. I've had her on the show before. She's been a co-host, and she's done some different things with us. And fantastic lady. But anyway, so we were out there. I was out there with Carmen, and we were looking at this weird. There is a lot of rocks.
There's a lot of rocks out there
on this property. I mean, a lot of big. You see them right here in this picture. That's Carmen and I just kind of climbing around on them and looking at them to see what's going on there. And there was some interesting ones like this one here that is cut. It's very flat. There was a few like that around, but it was this one here was standing out pretty prominent. Could these be rocks that were used or partially used for some sort of a structure, a large structure? Don't know. We don't have the evidence to prove that, but yeah, really hard to say.
And unfortunately, they're not allowed to dig on that land anymore. They're restricted as to what they can do on the surface or subsurface. So
that's the very interesting part of this, isn't it? Yeah. Tom was there year before I was looking at that same rock there.
Yep. It stands out like a sore thumb. I mean, it's a different color. It's not part of that group of rocks. So where it came from, I don't know.
Yep. Yeah, pretty interesting. And the well that's on site. Carmen was looking at it for that reason, Renee. He was looking for chisel marks. He didn't see any, but then again, we didn't roll it over and look at the other side. So we don't know if it was actually split open or anything.
There are not any feather marks on the top right there. But that doesn't mean they're not buried on the other side.
Right. So, and some people have looked at that picture and said it looked like, like a castle or a tower of some sort. This is up on a hill where we're at right there. It is on a very high, a lot of trees around, but it is on a very, very high, prominent place in the area. So it's just weird that all these big boulders are there. And there's supposedly some sort of a foundation underneath the ground that Joan Hope, was that her name? Joan Hope had found. Joan, the lady that owned the property before Alessandra and Tim bought it. Anyway, really, really interesting. And that well, Tony Sampson dove on that well. And you remember he saw that little triangle that looked like it had been carved into one of the stones further down.
You can see it from the surface. You can see it if you get the right angle and the right flash, you can see it.
There's a question for Jamie.
Yeah, to answer Renee's question, it really would depend on what the rock's made of without being there and seeing it myself. I'm guessing that's granite. So yeah, that would probably hold on to chisel marks pretty well, even after 1,000 years. It would have to be under a lot of bioturbation to get rid of chisel marks. So like water, constant rubbing, that sort of thing to make them go away. Because
would a stone that big
holds up pretty well.
would a stone that big used, Jamie, like for like a grist mill or grist stone?
That's actually what it reminded me of when it first came up. It's just got such a nice flat surface on both sides, and that is what that is one of the things that a lot of people got some of those big boulders split open for, were for grist mills and stuff like that in that area.
Yep.
You said that you can no longer dig on this property. Are they allowed to do anything like GPR?
I think that would be allowed. I don't think they're allowed to disturb the surface.
They're not, yes, but so GPR, and that's something that I was talking with Alessandra about, and we'll get into more of that as things develop. As you know, I recently was talking with Jeremy Church from Panther Geoscience and said we need to get some, and also a gentleman by the name of Pete Kelsey that does LiDAR. Thank you, Linda, for clarifying that. Joan Harris, she wrote under the name of Joan Hope. Thank you. That's where I got
LiDAR is incredible. It's like some kind of magic wizardry.
It is truly amazing. Yeah. So LiDAR, I've been talking to Pete about this, and we'll see. We'll see what can come out. Because you don't really have to have a permit to do LiDAR or fly a drone over your own property. So, if you're not disturbing the ground.
Nope, I'm a drone pilot in Canada, and I can tell you over private property, you can do just about what you want as long as you're not flying into restricted air zones. So.
There you go. So that's what we want to try to see if we can figure out. We'll let you know as things develop. I don't know if it can happen, but we're going to try to see if we can find out, and how, of course, it's her property. So it's Alessandra and Tim's property. So whatever they decide they want to do is up to them. But I mean, if we could get some more evidence of this, because I think there's something there. I truly, truly believe there's something there that needs to be opened up and see what's going on.
Interesting to see if you could tell if it's just glacial till or if there's a structure underneath, so yeah.
I don't think the neighbors would like having all those seismic charges going off, though.
Probably not.
He's got a thumper he could use. He's got that thumper.
Just pick a vacation like July 1st or something.
Yeah, so well, what do you guys have in Canada for July 1st? Do you have
Canada Day?
Is that what it is? Canada Day. There you go. Yeah. All right.
Free fireworks.
Free fire. Nobody would suspect a thing, would they? No. All right. So, but really interesting property. All right. Now, here's the thing. Remember this? You saw these 3 boxes on there, and this was these 3 boxes right here. And we were wondering what they were. 3 boxes with lines through them. Well, here is something that Henry found out, Henry DeWitt, and he found this out. Look here closely at this, folks. This is really interesting. And they're right on the mainland, just inside the mainland from Oak Island. And here's Oak Island. And look what's right here. I'm going to zoom in on this. Look what's right here.
Yep.
You've got 3 sinkholes right here, and right here. And they line right up. Now, isn't that interesting? 3 sinkholes. Now, we know that this area is full of sinkholes because Jeremy Church talked about it when he was on with me, and we did 2 episodes. They're both linked in the description below if you want to go check them out. He's the one that came out and did the seismic survey on Oak Island, all the western drumlin from the swamp east. I'm sorry, the eastern drumlin from the swamp east. They did the seismic survey, and he talked about sinkholes being very prominent in this entire area because of the clay-based soil, a lot of clay around. So, and he talked, and he gave an explanation on this. It just blew my mind. That's an interesting question. We've got a picture that I did not put on here. How far back did that go? It was earlier in the 1900s.
Yeah, it was. I can't remember the exact date, but yeah, a long, long time ago. And
they were there in that picture then.
Yep.
So we don't know how far they may go back prior to that. We're not sure. But look at that, how they line up. Isn't that, I just find that terribly interesting. And here's another little tidbit. You see this little thing right here circled in yellow, right on the edge of these 3 boxes is this little piece right here. So we were wondering what is over there that might be some sort of a landmark right there. Well, it's a church. It's the church that they talk about that's on the corner when you turn down on Crandall Road.
Yep.
there's a church right there. Now, I found out that that church was built in 1878.
Yeah,
But the
it's not
question,
very old.
huh? What's that?
I said, yeah, it's not very old. I used to drive past it all the time.
Yep. Every time you go to Oak Island, you drive right past it when you make the turn right there onto Crandall Road. So you drive right past this church. Now, the thing about this church, though, is what was there prior to the church? Was it some
Correct.
sort of special sacred area that they
Why
ended
was
up
the
building?
site chosen? Right.
Yeah. Why was that site chosen? So we don't know.
Because there's
We know.
nothing else right there that would, normally you'd find a church in a small community
Mhm.
back in the day. There's nothing right in that immediate area that would
Right.
suggest a good spot for a church.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, and again, we're just putting stuff together, what we're finding, folks. This is not, we're not saying this is it. We're just looking at it going, wow, this is interesting how this all lines up. You got these 3 sinkholes, boom, boom, boom. You got a church right there. The book was written about 1824. I think it was
Yep.
published in 1824. So you know that the drawing in there is after that sometime. And if the church was built in 1878 and could be an area that might 1878, Jan, and it could be something that was there prior to that. We just don't know. But again, interesting that it kind of turned out that way. Here they are in a little bit better picture. This is a drone shot of the area, and you can see them right there, all lined up. These 3 sinkholes right here. They're like little swamps, but they're sinkholes is what they are. And Jeremy talked about there being sinkholes on the mainland that he was
Oh, yeah.
very interested in. Okay. That's what I think, Craig. That's what we're looking at, thinking that those boxes, the 3 boxes, oh, these 3 red boxes, I'm not sure.
Mhm.
I think those were, I'm not sure.
That was Henry trying to transpose them off of the diagram to show the relative space for them.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Rough location of the 3
Mhm.
boxes.
Mhm.
And then you've got the 3 sinkholes.
Yeah,
Is it the
keep in
3
mind
sink?
that's a hand-drawn map, right? And the other interesting thing too is those boxes are all, I think, in the same general area where Sam Ball eventually bought 100 acres of land.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. Sam Ball, who became mysteriously wealthy.
Wealthy enough to buy 100 acres of land in 1810, I think it was.
Yeah. Yeah. I didn't include that picture that has where it
1810, yeah.
shows his lot that he had
Mhm.
over there.
Mhm.
But he did have a lot just on the mainland right there by Oak Island.
Mhm.
Now, here's another little tidbit of information that we came up with. If you take a line and you run it across those 3 sinkholes and through the church, St. Mark's church right there on the corner of Crandall Road, the other end of the line goes to the Glooscap Stone.
Mhm.
Isn't that interesting?
Interesting.
The Glooscap Stone. And then the other end of it points to Grand Manan Island
Which is out in the Bay of Fundy,
out in the Bay of Fundy.
between Nova Scotia and New Brunswick.
Isn't that another little interesting tidbit?
Yep. hmm
There's a picture of the Glooscap Stone. That's one that I took. I was when I was up there. And there's Christina trying to, push it over, and it's not working for her. I had to throw that in there. I just had fun with that. But I wanted to show you that also, real quick. I know I'm taking too much longer than I said I was going to on this opening part here. There's a stone on Alessandra's property. It has been removed now. The team was out there. Charles Barkhouse and all them guys came out there, and they looked at this particular stone, and it had what looked like the remnants. Now, this is one that Tom had drawn on it to resemble where it was.
Yeah, that's just my hand-drawn facsimile there.
Yeah, it looked like it had a rosy cross on it at one time, and you could see it in certain light. If it got wet or certain light, you could kind of look like, and it was it had fallen over. Yeah, it's a hermstone. It's in a museum now. They stood it up so you could see it, and the guys came out and looked at it, and they were pretty impressed by what they saw on the stone. Why
Yeah,
would there be a
they were
stone?
worried that it was going to be subject to graffiti or whatever, so they figured it was just better just to move it.
And they did, which is, I think, the right thing to have done because they are not there on that property all the time. So I think it's a good thing. Now, when you talk about Grand Manan, we're going to tease this. Tom and I, and hopefully Henry, we can get him out here. We're going to talk about this at some point. But Grand Manan has some interesting things about it too.
Yes,
And there's
sir.
a picture. What's that?
Follow that line all the way across the Grand Manan, and don't know if we've got the picture there of that line going across Grand Manan or not.
Did
We have
I?
the one about going across Grand
Yeah,
Manan.
here it is, right here.
There it is. Okay,
Yeah.
so if you see that line where it hits on Grand Manan, I sent this picture over to my brother on Grand Manan, and I said, so it goes across that southwest corner of Grand Manan. Is there anything over there that would make somebody kind of curious as to about what's going on? And in about 5 minutes, he sent me back this next slide. It's called the Southern Cross on Grand Manan. They say it's a natural structure. Is it natural? I don't know.
Isn't
But
that interesting?
it's on the coastline, and you saw a picture of the coastline. That coastline of all up and down that southwest corner of Grand Manan is very, very similar. But if you want to back up to that picture I took of the coastline for a second.
Oops. Let me get that right here.
Yep. So that's what the coastline looks like, and it would be down, probably 50 or 60 feet off the shore. Very similar to that, just sort of up around the corner. But if you can look off into the horizon, you can see the land. Well, that land is the state of Maine. So who do we know that comes from the state of Maine that's got an interest in going up to the state of Maine until he hits a marking point, a lay point, and heading across the Bay of Fundy to the coast of Nova Scotia?
Somebody that we've seen his picture on the show a lot.
A lot.
That
So,
may
Could have
be
been some
I don't know.
Al
I mean, I don't know. I mean,
Sabino
you can see it from there. So who knows?
somebody by the name of Scott Clark talked about quite a bit.
Mhm.
Yeah, like Mr.
So,
Fitz.
I don't know, but it's just an amazing. If you're going to pick a landmark like the Gloos Capstone or this cross, I mean, those would be two excellent spots if you're going to pick. Go up the coastline, so many miles off the coast until you spot this, and then your bearing is whatever from there.
Now, Tom was saying that the cross is around the corner from this here. It's probably on one of these.
You're not going to see it there. No,
Yeah,
that's just a
prominence
picture
over
I took
here.
when I was there.
But here's and somebody asked me to zoom in a little more.
Is there any evidence that Phipps was ever in the Bay of Fundy? Like, I know we have evidence that he was up in Canada.
I don't know if he was ever in the Bay of Fundy, but it
sure.
would be, well, he'd almost have to drive through it to get over there. So
So now I guess weathering. This is an old picture, and I guess weathering has knocked off at least one of the arms of it.
Yeah, the arms are now gone.
Yep. But at one point, it was a prominent cross. Now, was it man-made?
1972, we had a major hurricane come up the Bay of Fundy, and it's supposedly what knocked the arms off it.
Yep. Yeah. So we don't know. Honestly, we just don't know.
It was just an interesting coincidence.
Yeah, just an interesting coincidence that that line goes across. It goes from it goes from the Gloos Capstone through Chester straight across to that point on Grand Manan Island.
I don't know, guys. I have such a hard time with these. If you just draw a line from here to here, because if you draw a line on any 2 points, you can make a straight line.
Absolutely. Yes, that's true.
Yep. I'm going to need to see more points on that line.
Yep. Yeah, that's very true. And I think he actually said that the line does cross Oak Island as well, and there
the corner of Oak Island, yeah.
Corner of Oak Island,
Chester, over the church, and yeah.
I don't know. I mean, what does it mean? Don't know. It doesn't.
It's just kind of cool to see.
Yeah, it's just really kind of cool to see. Okay, so I had to tease that a little bit. We're gonna put this together a little bit closer as we go along between Tom and and Henry DeWitt and myself. But just interesting information that we found that again, I just here's the one where it does. Let's see here. Oh, the one where it crosses the bottom. It's actually the bottom of lot 28, 29, somewhere like that. It crosses the bottom of that lot on the way. So it does touch Oak Island. So anyway, cool information. But there's so many people out there doing some really cool things looking in these maps. You don't know what you're going to find for sure. But I tell you, with Z and with Christopher Morford and everybody looking into this stuff, and of course, we don't know yet what Mr. John Edwards has yet to, and that's one of the things that I have to say too, because there's been a lot of people that have, made in comments, good and bad, against what John has presented in the war room. But I have to tell you this, folks, remember, you must remember that we are only seeing about 1% of John's presentation. Just like any other researcher that has been in the war room, we get to see about 1% of their entire presentation. Production decides what it's going to clip out and show you. Is it in the order that the person presented it? Is it exactly what the person said? We don't know for sure on all that stuff. Okay. That's part of the reason why this podcast exists. We love to review the show, but I also love to get airtime to the researchers that have presented and let them come on and talk about it and give us more of the story that we didn't get in the war room. So keep that in mind as you go forward on all of these. Anybody that's presented in the war room, whether it be Doug Simmons or Scott Clark or any of them, or Christopher
Not to
Coley.
interrupt, but I think that there's something else that's really important to note is that these are people's theories. And whether, John Edwards believes everything he's saying 100% or he doesn't, whatever, that's his thing. But just because he believes this doesn't mean everybody believes every word that he's saying is absolutely 100%. We are all willing to listen to these theories because there may be a grain of truth in there that leads us to the right answers.
That's right.
We're not listening to these theories because we're like, oh yeah, 100% because John said so. We know that the ark is on the island. We're doing this because John might be onto something, and it would be dumb of us, honestly, after 10 years, 11 years, to ignore somebody's ideas and say, well, I don't think that's right. Like you gotta investigate this. You gotta look into this.
And even if it works out that it's not all 100% right, there could be some particular point of fact in there that's gives you that aha moment.
Absolutely.
If he gets 1 point correct, go John.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what Marty's take is. Is it worth going to check? Everybody in the whole war room went, yes. There you go. So, and he was on board with it too. All right. So jumping into this week's episode, we go starting off at the garden shaft in the money pit. Right off the bat, the guys take a look at this new horizontal drill rig that they're not new, but a horizontal drill rig that they're going to put down there. If you remember last week, they found those the beams that were on the floor that we talked about had been removed. I had said something about that. Then I thought that, obviously they had been removed because there was nails still in the board, those beams that they took out. And they took those nails out. Well, that meant that at one point it did have the walls, and at least the walls, we don't know about the roof, but the walls, I'm assuming the roof on it as well. Now, if somebody took that out of there, why would they take it out? To collapse it, possibly? I was thinking they were coming out, they took it out, but then Tom and Linda and everybody's like, well, no, they probably took it out to keep people from finding it when they planted something. So I'm like, oh.
Yeah, I mean, there's 2 or 3 different options there, right? One is to keep them from finding it. One is to collapse it, and the other is we needed the wood to use somewhere else because this tunnel didn't work.
Yep. And Marty said himself, he was quoted in the show saying, a collapse is a great way to hide something.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's obviously it was taken out and probably to collapse it. So here they are getting ready to do the horizontal drilling down there and put this unit down inside. There's another shot of that. And here's a kind of the artist rendition of that unit down there working. And you would be drilling horizontally to find a void, a tunnel or something. And Rick had said the priority, in my opinion, is to drill the tunnel. Get to that tunnel. Absolutely. I'm on board with that 100%. So then you see the guys getting ready. They start the drill process getting going. And then, of course, the show jumped around a little bit. We're going to stick with the garden shaft here all the way through. There they are drilling through the sets, doing their horizontal drilling. And they're looking for the tunnel that would have been on the other side of the collapse of where those beams were going, the floor. And I said something long ago on this show during this season. I said something about the fact that I said, now what happens if they tap into something, a tunnel or a flood tunnel or something like that? We know just about every tunnel they put a core down into, they hit water at some point. They hit water or slurry and stuff like that. So I was afraid that once they punched into somewhere, it's going to start flooding the tunnel.
Do you think that this level of flooding they saw last night was worse than what they faced earlier in the year?
Oh, it was. It definitely was. because they were in there when this
Mhm.
happened. When the storms came through and flooded the tunnel, that was irritating. It slowed everything down
Mhm.
and they had to keep pumping and all of that. This was actually terrifying. I mean, we all get really close, and like I love the guys from Dumas, and I love our crew. And yeah, that was scary. That was
Mhm.
really scary. So like I kind of choked up a little bit watching last night because it was
Mhm.
like, okay, I know everybody got out okay,
Mhm.
but like when you start hearing their voices get a little bit more panicked and the water starts rushing in, it was pretty scary.
Mhm. Yeah, and there was some folks that were making comments that Prometheus had got them to start yelling and stuff down there, but
No,
I don't
no.
think that was the case at all.
No.
No, no. When you see your friends at the lunch table and they're still all white from panic, no, they Prometheus had nothing to do with that. That
Mhm.
was
There you go, folks.
We were all
Somebody who
very
was there.
glad that they got out okay.
Yeah, and you heard Rick ask that question, "Everybody out okay?" And Roger told him, "Yes, everybody got out."
Mhm.
So, um, I did not think that they were being told or they were playing it up or anything like
No.
that. Look at folks, you're 100 feet underground. Now you punched into an area and you've got water flowing and you saw the show. You saw how much water was pumping coming in there. And you heard one of them say, "This pump is not going to be able to handle this much coming in." You heard him say that. So what are you going to think? I'm getting the heck out of here. Get me
Mhm.
out of here.
There's no elevator. You're climbing a ladder.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they
Yeah,
do have
that's
that
the other
crane if
thing
it's down
too.
there. But
You
yeah.
just want to hope the guy in front of you is faster than you.
Yeah, yeah,
Go,
absolutely.
go, go. And thank you. There you go, right there.
Of
There.
course.
That's
No,
subtle. Thank you, Jamie. Yes.
yeah,
See,
no,
there's a
I,
lot of
I
people that
definitely
were
want to make
saying
that clear that
that
was a really scary moment. And I think Marty even said something on the show last night that, the dealing with the same problems that they dealt with 200 years ago it's kind of a spooky thing. Like
Mhm.
it's just like, wow, man, maybe there is something to the aura of the island doing what it
Mhm.
wants. So
Mhm. Yep. So yeah. So anyway, that was why I had made the comment. Yeah, it looked like a fire hose. Somebody, yeah, Renee said that, and I thought so too. I had this is where I picked the thumbnail for tonight's show accordingly because of this, because I have had my hopes set on the garden shaft and making tunneling into that tunnel that they've been chasing underneath the garden shaft all season long.
yeah.
And now here we are. We're here
Mhm.
at a point where is it now? It's probably not going to happen this season. And I'm just like, oh man. But I'm
Yeah,
glad everybody's safe.
it was really tough because I mean I worked on lot 5 all season, so I didn't really get a lot of time to go figure out what else was happening on the island, but I really kind of kept prodding everybody every day at lunch like, hey, what's going on in the shaft? It's like I
Mhm.
wanted to know. And so yeah, it was really heartbreaking when that
Mhm.
happened. I was just Mostly I was thrilled everybody was okay, but I was
Yeah.
like, oh no, what does that mean for the shaft? Like, are we done?
Exactly. I'm like, oh my gosh, no, 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 not again. And that's what I said about the curse. I hate them. I hate them talking about the curse. The curse just makes me
Yeah.
so mad because the 6 people have died and the 7th one, blah, blah, blah. Shut up. Stop saying that. I hate that. But if there is some sort of a weird thing that happens, is every time they get that close,
Mhm.
something happens to thwart their efforts.
Certainly feels that way.
Mhm.
Okay. All right. Jeff, don't worry about the water. They stopped it before. Remember what Colin said about, yeah, yeah, I know, I know, I know. And I'm hoping, I'm still
Oh yeah,
holding
I'd
on.
just take it down in there with a bigger pump and then fill that thing full of geofoam again, and
Yep.
away you go.
Yep.
This shouldn't be anything that Dumas is not capable of overcoming.
Oh, poor Amanda, you are very far behind.
Mm.
Episode
I know.
14, she said,
I
is
know.
airing tonight in the UK.
And I'm a
The other thing to
major
keep in mind too is
spoiler.
that there's a lot of water that went into the ground in Nova Scotia and all the Maritimes over the summer. And
Mhm.
as you can see in some of the earlier pictures, even in that shot there, you can't see it in that shot, but even behind them, there's still puddles on the ground. So there's still a huge amount of
Yeah.
groundwater down there that could be sitting in any one of a number of pockets or caverns.
Yeah, in lot 5, the previous year, when they started Helen's feature, they had no water in there whatsoever. And then this year, we literally had an underground spring that would just flood from the bottom up every
Mm.
time we got any kind of rain.
Mhm.
Wow.
But
Wow.
didn't you just know Rick was going to taste that?
Oh, I know. I was like,
Yeah,
don't do it, don't do it. Oh, there he goes.
yeah, I know. As soon as he's like, "Did we get a sample of that?" I'm going, "Oh, here we go."
Mm.
Yeah, and he did. Reach it. Oh, and Scott. Oh yeah, I got one right here for you, all ready to go. And he hands him the bottle.
Yeah.
Didn't even wipe the top off. Just drank it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. He just takes a quick sniff of it, first,
Little
and
taste.
then yeah, it's a little salty.
Salty. And not surprising that it's salty. I mean, we know that they dump dye down in some of those holes, and it comes out in the ocean.
Hmm.
They're 60 feet below sea level.
Right.
So
Yep.
was there tunnels there, flood tunnels, caverns, natural, unnatural? Could the ground have been saturated with salt water at one time, and it's mixed now with fresh water? It's going to taste salty. You'd be hard pressed not to have it taste salty.
Yep. Yeah. So he said right off the bat, it's a flood tunnel. Got to be a flood tunnel. So yeah, at least he spit it out, Jan. Yeah, you're right. He didn't swallow it. Remember when he did? Now that's the one thing I would drink. I would taste it, not drink it, but taste it from the garden shaft. But the swamp. Remember when he did that with
Yeah,
the swamp water?
I'm not sure I'd taste it. I might put a little bit on my finger and maybe taste it on the tip of my tongue or something, but I'm not going to go.
That's what my husband said too.
Mm.
I was like, the man's already had Lyme's disease. Does he need dysentery too? What
Yeah.
is
Right out of the bucket of the excavator. He put his bottle right up there and caught it coming out of the bucket of the excavator.
Yep.
Rick is the field lab. Nice, Mark. That's great. Yeah, love that. So yeah, so he tasted it. So all right, so we got to find out they were at the 97-foot mark, which is where they found that platform of logs,
Yeah.
and so they were drilling out to see what they could find out. So we'll see, but they did talk about that the fact what they do want to get the samples of anything that they get, whether it be the ground, I don't know if dirt samples or whatever, but they want to get samples every 10 feet so they can do some carbon date if they hit any wood or anything like that. They want to get that. So
I suspect they're going to check for trace gold and silver
yeah,
as well.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. All right. So again, there goes Rick. All right. So before we jump over here, I did want to say too, Coach Steve Money's in here along with Zane, and you've heard me talk about Zane and the different overlays that he's been working on and whatnot. Coach and Zane started a podcast going, and Coach had some stuff going on that he talked about Oak Island quite a bit, but now they have a little podcast that they just started, and he's getting some good views over there. So check that out. It's just look for Coach Steve Money on YouTube, and you'll find him. He does little short stuff. He did a nice long one with Zane where they talked about some different things. Really good stuff. So check them out. We get a chance, and hopefully one of these days we'll get both of them on here to talk about it a little bit. Thank you, Craig. Very nice of you. I appreciate that very much, sir. Thank you for donating a super chat there.
I didn't see who
Let's
commented, but yes, I did not stick any of those pieces of pottery to my tongue on camera. But I did plenty of licking pottery. Don't you worry.
all right, nice. Yeah. Super chat challenge. Let's flood the chat with super chats. Thanks, Craig. I appreciate that. All right, so we're jumping over now to the swamp area, and here's a nice overshot. You can see that rock, that boulder right there that I think is the southern anchor right there. We still haven't figured out over here just what in the world he's digging for over there. My assumption is they were looking for there was that electromagnetic anomaly that the Panther Geoscience, Jeremy Church and Burton Cosgrove had found when they were in the inflatable that was being pushed around. I thought they were over there looking for that. We haven't seen anything on that on the show this season. They haven't talked about it. But yet there they are, and there's Nolan's Peninsula right there. So that's where they're at. But we don't know just yet what they're if they found anything over there at all. So hopefully that'll come out in the wash. They're still working on this area that they found down there in the southeast corner of the garden chat or the swamp down by that stone road. So interesting. Is there more cement from that dig than what you found? I see small pieces in the lab. Oh, yeah. Is that?
Are they talking about the stuff I found on lot 5? If so,
Yeah.
then yes, we have all kinds of samples of that. We actually ended up completely extracting it, and water screening it to find any like small artifacts and stuff that were in it.
Nice. Good deal. Yeah, that's great. That's good stuff right there. And and again, why? Why is it there? I mean, we just don't know yet. Um, so we'll see as the show proceeds, what we find out about that. But that's interesting. So here's another look at that structure. This is all the wooden structure that's right next to the stone road. And you see these beams down there. I mean, I don't know that they haven't determined what it is yet,
No,
or why it's there. Was it a wharf? I think maybe they were talking about it being part of a wharf or something
it's a wharf or a loading platform, I think, is the
of some
common
sort.
consensus. Yeah.
I think that was the consensus, is that it was sort of the termination of the stone road and probably what they used to get in and out of the water.
Mhm. There's this big rock in there. I saw that, a big boulder in there. They didn't talk about it really, give it any attention, but you see it sitting there.
Mm.
But again, yeah, very interesting. And I think they are dating that wood to see what they find out about it. So, somebody asked, is this where the Indian, where they found the pottery? It's very close, but no, it's not. It's very
Yeah.
close. That was
Yeah.
just over a little
The
bit.
the area was made protected, and then they also put a buffer around it just to be sure. Where you can see where that blue tarp is, it's sort of up past there a bit is actually where they found
Up in
the
here.
Micmac pottery and stuff. No, actually, you're right. That was the first circle.
Okay, this area here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. And so they have a specific area that they determined, okay, this was definitely an occupation point, and then they added, I think it was a 50-foot buffer on the outside of that to make sure that there was no incursion into it. So it's safe. Don't worry.
Yep. Good stuff. Yep. Well, we're just glad that they're able to get back in there. That was a good thing. Jamie, why do they not have your team digging in the swamp structure? Do you cringe at the large equipment?
No, actually, I had an amazing experience with Scott Barlow. He actually taught me how to run the excavator. So
Oh, cool.
I got to have some fun with it. I love the large equipment. I've run like all kinds of large stuff, but no. So the main reason for it this year is that um, in order to do archaeology, it takes time, right? And the swamp was you know what? I think that we can get through this a little bit faster. Yeah, we might break a few more artifacts that way, as we saw, with Billy's excavator digging up some pottery. But there's not enough archaeological integrity in that area to take the time to sort through it piece by piece. What they're looking for is large structures, and that's exactly what they found.
Mhm.
For us to go in and do it, it would have taken months longer, and we may never even have gotten to that point where we found it.
Yeah, for sure. Good point.
Yeah. And also, canines, right? I hate mosquitoes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Jan just made a comment there too. This picture here, I like this one here because it kind of goes along with what Jeremy Church was talking about. Remember, he was talking about back in the day that the swamp was open to the sea. And is it possible that it built up over years and kind of filled it in with muck over, 5,000 years or who knows, and slowly filled it in? That's why they needed the stone road. That's why they needed the little wharf down there so they could bring a smaller boats in and unload them or load them. So that was interesting there, and that's why I kind of like this picture here. Another one that they showed that they were talking about. Jack wonders about this. Looks like there's a layer of stone in here.
Yeah.
And did you get the whole gist on this one, Tom? This layer of
Just that
stone?
he thinks he found another version of the stone road,
Mhm.
and that he thinks it was intentionally covered at some point in time. But other than that, they kind of mentioned it. They said that Rick and Marty should know about it, and then they kind of just moved on.
Mhm. Yeah.
So
Yeah, I was kind of hoping that they would have Laird or Ian back down there to look at that, but I'm assuming that they did, and it just didn't air.
mm,
Yep.
yeah, but it definitely looks like a layer of rock for some purpose.
Yeah. Okay. Um, let's see. Okay, and then they talked about that stone road again. That remember they were following when they came off the stone road, the one that they've uncovered there. That's 20 feet wide, 70 feet long. And they talked about it going, up toward Nolan's property, and then also going the other way towards the money pit. And then they showed this old picture where you can actually see the remnants
Hmm.
of a stone road right here, running right along there. So yes,
When's
there
that
was.
picture from?
I forget
Yeah,
the date on it. Do you remember, Tom?
1930.
1930. So it was still
Yep.
showing a bit of a stone road there at that time.
Mhm.
You can see it
Yeah,
better here,
interesting.
leading right up to the money pit area. So why would you need a stone road going from the swamp up through, the lots there, lot 15 and that going up towards lot 20 and lot 18?
It looks like pretty solid ground. So what you'd want to build a stone road in there for? I mean, you'd have to be hauling something pretty heavy.
Yep. And remember too, when they were in the woods area around lot 15, 16, and 17, they were finding ox shoes. Remember when
Yep.
Jack and Gary Drayton were in there doing all the metal detecting, and they found a lot of ox shoes. And that's when Gary said, "There's a path that went through here, like a road or something. Had to be.
Mhm.
Why would they have found all those ox shoes?" So,
Mhm.
so yeah, very interesting. One of the things that they found when they went over to the lab, and there's Carmen, of course, and they're looking at a couple of the items that were found during that dig. Um, right there in the southeast corner of the swamp, they found this old tool on the top, and then looks like a wharf pin on the bottom picture. And Carmen came out and looked at him, and he said that he knew right away what that tool was. We thought it was a tool. Turns
Mhm.
out it wasn't actually a tool; it was a backing bolt. He
Mm.
called it for an oxen. For the
Yep.
oxen, it would be holding the part of the harnesses together with whatever
Mhm.
they're pulling.
Yep. It's almost like a 16th century trailer hitch.
Yeah, there you go. Yes, exactly. That's a very good way of saying it.
Mm.
Yep.
Cotter pin.
Yep. And you
Mm.
see, and oh, we went out as we always do. Tom and I are always looking for these dates.
Mm.
So you got October 10th of 2023
Mhm.
right here. October 10th, iron fastener with wood on it, and then an iron tool, which actually turns out to be this backing bolt
Mhm.
right here. Now, when Carmen looked at these, he said, "Unfortunately, I know exactly what this is." Or fortunately, and he talked about it being a backing bolt, and then he gave it a date, 1600, but no later than 1750, 1760.
Yeah.
But he said it
And
was French,
it's French. Yeah.
and immediately I
Which,
was kind of like, "Whoa, French?"
well, it makes sense. I mean, the French have been in all over the area, all through the Maritime. Champlain was here in 1600s, set up a settlement in New Brunswick.
Mhm.
I mean, over in Nova Scotia, they set up settlements. So the French were all over the place. Um, does that mean that I was left there by a French person? No, it means somebody's got a tool that is or that was originated or came from France.
Well, I
Mhm.
wish that he'd elaborated on that more because I think what he may have been alluding to, and I could be wrong, is that he meant like French Acadian, not necessarily French from
Oh, could be.
France.
Hmm.
So I wish that he had gotten in a couple extra seconds. I'm sure, again, he probably talked about it. It just didn't get on the show.
Yeah.
You could very well be right. But one thing I did want to point out about this, because as soon as I kind of got deflated on it, because I'm thinking, okay, if the thing was built around the 1200s, the French wouldn't have been there yet, right? So I was a little dismayed by that. But then I remembered something that Dr. Aaron Taylor had said about the Stone Road down there. And I remember him specifically saying that the Stone Road had been repaired.
Oh, yes.
So now you go back to, okay, if they repaired it, did the French are they the ones that repaired it later on in the 1600s
Yeah.
or the 1700s?
Oh, I mean, there's absolutely no question they could have been there. But if you follow a theory, like if you want to go with Jake Roberts' theory, the French, Bacon, Shakespeare, all early 1600s, early to mid 1600s,
Yep.
they
See, I'm
certainly could have been there.
comfortable with like the
Yep.
16 and the
Yep.
1700 dates because I've seen archaeological evidence to support those. When I
Mhm.
start hearing someone like Carmen say, oh, 1200, or I hear a date, that says 1200, I start to go, are we sure though? Like, how sure are we? Because that just seems too early for me, because we don't have any artifacts that date back to that.
No.
Yep, exactly. So,
I do like the 1700s.
yeah. All right. So it's so that kind of wraps it up with Carmen and going out to look at those two pieces. The other one was a wharf pin, or I think so. It's a really long one.
Pin, yeah.
Still had some wood on it.
Still had the wood on it, so that's kind of a giveaway.
Yeah, and it'd be interesting if they date that wood too. And again, there's so much of the show, folks, that we don't get to see. That they could have, looked into these things and had the dating done on the wood, and we just don't hear about it later on. It's quite a possibility. So, yeah. Anyway, all right, it's time for our giveaway. So let's bring Linda in, and we'll get that ready. And I want to show it one. Hi, Linda. How you doing?
Hey, everybody.
Thank you, by the way, for taking care of all these chat messages. Again, there's so many going by. I miss probably 75% of them.
You know what the other side of that is?
What?
I'm so busy watching all of those messages, and it's one every few seconds typically, that I don't know what you're saying on the show. So I have to go back the next day and rewatch the podcast because I have no idea what's going on.
So you're that one viewer. Okay. Yeah.
I'm the one. Yeah.
Oh, Linda does a fantastic job for us folks. I really do appreciate and love her dearly for all the work she does to keep this thing rolling and help us out. And then she does all the work to maintain the Facebook group page with Tom helping and Jan helping, of course. But I mean, that's a job in itself. And I did want to point out again a public service message here. Jan made a little post about it again, a public service message for anyone that happens to be out there in Facebook world. And you happen to have Rick Lagina, Marty Lagina, Craig Tester, or Alex Lagina as a friend on Facebook. Get rid of it now, because it's not them. They do not have social media accounts like that.
They will not contact you.
They will not contact you and ask you for money to help them build to find the treasure. What was that, Jamie?
They will not ask you for money.
Yes, they will not be asking you for money to help them find the treasure or fix Rick's leg because he fell down and hurt himself. Anything like that.
Or plane
you
tickets.
Have one of them for a friend. Remove them now.
Not only are the guys on the Curse of Oak Island not on Facebook, but about 90% of the guys on Skinwalker Ranch are not on Facebook. So if you're friends with Travis Taylor, you're not. If you're friends with Brandon Fugel, you're not. If you're friends with Eric Bard, you're not.
Yeah. So keep that in mind, folks, because they are purposely not on those things for obvious reasons. So just wanted to let you know that, because we get a lot of people coming into the group that are friends. They got 2-3 friends that are Rick Lagina, and Rick's not on there. So anyway, just too many scams out there.
Why do you need 3 Ricks?
Yeah. Why do you have to have? Well, one of them might be him. No, they're not. Any of them are not him.
Yeah. All 3 of them want your money.
Yes, exactly. Scott Barlow does. Yes.
Scott is on
He is
Facebook.
for real. So is Laird.
Yep, Laird is too. Yes.
Doug is not
Moya.
anymore.
But the
Steve
family
Epstein
is not.
anymore.
Jack Begley does. Jack has
Yes.
one. Yes. And yes, David Blanken, or Dave Blankenship does too. But anyway, just wanted to point that out, that the brothers and Craig and Jack and Alex, or Jack does, but Alex, no, they do not. So just keep that in mind. All right, for tonight's giveaway, we've got the JK Unearthed hat signed by Jamie Kouba. And so she has donated that for the giveaway. And this is 1 coin, the front and the back. I was confused earlier. I thought it was 2 coins. And this is what is this? What's this coin again? Is it a Roman coin?
It's a Roman coin that Michelle Tomeyer donated.
Awesome. Now, to be eligible to get this coin, you need to be a member of our the giveaway. You need to be a member of our Facebook group page, The Curse of Oak Island and Beyond, Skinwalker Ranch. And there's a link for it down below. You need to be a member. This will go out. Linda will put up a picture of the next week's giveaway, and you just simply comment on that post saying yes. That's it. Just yes, and you get eligible for it. Then we do the spin here tonight. You must be present at the podcast to win it. So if you're not here, we'll give you about a minute to say you're here, you're here. So make sure you do that right away if you get picked. If not, then we'll spin again and we'll go on to the next one. So that's how
You
that
guys,
all
if
works.
Seth wins this hat, I haven't seen him in the chat, and I'm going to be really sad.
Yeah, we haven't seen him tonight.
Really
Oh,
wants
yeah.
this hat.
Yeah, Seth is he was solidly in here co-hosting with us, and he's due to just family. It takes a lot of time and effort to do what we're doing here of your normal life, and he just needed to back away a little bit to take care of more family stuff. So we love
He's
him.
still here.
He's
He's still
part
a
of it.
member of the group.
But
He's still
yeah, I
participating.
was joking last week when I said I was going to take your job. I didn't mean it.
No,
Yeah,
yeah,
I think
no.
he filed for free agency. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. He's going to be working with Zane and Coach now. No, I don't know. But anyway, that's what's going on.
He'll pop in from
Yeah.
time to
Oh, yeah,
time
yeah, he'll
on
be
the
around.
podcast.
Yeah, he's still a
He's
dear
just
friend.
not
We
going to
love
be a
him.
regular.
He just
Yep.
needed more time for his other life. So that's all.
Right.
So everything's good with
The
Seth.
man has a 2-year-old. Enough said.
Go figure. I wouldn't even be doing this if I had little kids running around the house. All right. All right. Are we ready for a spin, Linda?
We are ready.
All right. Let's get you up there to do it.
I got to make sure the sound is up. This is crazy. Okay, here we go.
Oh, perfect. Right there.
I've been practicing.
Ah, good. Look at all those names in there. Mary Molsky.
Mary's here.
Mary's here.
Mary's always here.
Mary. Let us know you're here, Mary.
Oh, Kevin, stay tuned because in the spring I'm planning to have teal.
Teal.
Not
hair.
purple anymore. The purple's all gone, but I'm thinking teal would be good.
Oh, teal would be cute.
I did purple, serious purple.
What do you think, Jeff? Teal?
I used to do pink a lot.
I was wondering about. I kind of liked when she did the purple. I like that. That was really cool. But I was thinking like bright orange for me or something.
There you go. Hunter Orange.
For you, yeah.
Hunter orange. Yeah.
Are you concerned about getting run over in traffic or something?
Just run over in general.
Yeah. Just run over in general. Right. Yeah. Mary, have we seen Mary jump out
There
yet?
she is.
There she is. Yep.
Oh, good.
Yay!
All right.
Congratulations, Mary.
Congratulations. You get a hat signed by Jamie Kuba. Whoop, whoop, whoop.
I know that girl.
She got a
She's
line
not
of merch. So can people buy these things from you?
They absolutely can. So I'm on Facebook and Instagram, and right now just send me a message. I still haven't gotten my store set up. I've been relentlessly busy at work and just haven't got a chance to it. But yeah, I will absolutely sell you an autographed hat if you like.
All right. There you go.
Mary, just send me your address and I will get this out in the mail probably Friday.
All right.
I sent 11 packages out yesterday, so probably going to be Friday.
Speaking of the Seth, there he is, just in time to find out he didn't win. Sorry, Seth. That's why he really.
Yeah.
Uh,
But the good news is you get to put your name in for next week too.
Right.
yeah, absolutely. Yep. All right.
There's John Edwards. Hello, John.
Yeah, John's here. John's in the chat. All right. Yeah. And I saw Gretchen earlier.
Gretchen
was in
was
the
here
chat.
earlier.
All right. We love it. We love having all you famous people in here with us. Yeah.
Oh yeah, we're all so
And
famous.
Jamie and yes, well, I tell you what, you're famous in my eyes. That's
Don't forget Rich too. Someone posted recently, I think it was on Reddit that I saw, that even the archaeologists get $100,000 an episode. I was like, woohoo, yes.
Are you waiting on
I
your
got
check?
car payments, I got mortgages.
well,
Yeah,
you
your
are
check's in
a
the
world
mail.
you are a world-renowned archaeologist, though. So
Apparently.
Like it or not.
and you found the treasure on Oak Island. You found treasure.
Yeah,
Not
I
the
did.
treasure. You found some
That
treasure.
was a really incredible day. Yeah.
That was awesome. That's
I had a lot of really incredible days, but that one was it was up there.
Right up there.
absolutely. All right. Thank you very much,
Thanks,
Linda. Appreciate it.
everybody. See you next week.
Yeah.
There's
All
Gretchen.
right.
Hey,
And
Gretchen.
as what's that?
I just said hi to Gretchen there. I saw Gretchen pop up.
Oh, there. Good. And there's Henry. We were talking about Henry. I hope he.
I warned him today he had to stay close in case we needed him.
All right. Hi, Gretchen. Glad to see you there. All right. Yeah, 90% silver, John. That's right. She found treasure. All right. So we jump over to lot 5, and here we got Helen, Jamie, Moya, and Fiona. Jack finally comes over to start sifting some buckets. I mean, I don't know what was taking them so long because they had a lot of buckets ready to go for him.
It's not like they'd bounce him all over the island or anything.
Yeah. I got to imagine him. He's got to be one of the busiest people, jumping around, going here, going there. Him and Steve, every time they find something, Steve, get over here. Yeah, so he came by to check on things, and look at this hole is getting deeper and deeper and deeper.
That's what I couldn't believe, how deep that hole is actually getting.
Yeah.
How far down are you at this point, Jamie?
Right about there, we are just getting to the floor, so we're probably about 3 feet down from where that rock wall is.
Yeah.
But if you're talking about like the actual ground surface, we're almost 5 feet deep there.
Incredible.
Yeah, it is. This is one of the, do you think this is one of the walls of the structure?
That is. And then if you take the 90-degree and go right next to me, that's the other one. And then there's actually one behind Moya that we are finding as well.
Ah, wow.
The drone shot last night was really good. It showed almost different compartments within the cell itself.
Yeah, no, the drone shot is incredible. And I'm like so grateful to the camera guys for getting some of those shots. I mean, look at that. It's so pretty. There's some things that I can't wait to talk about, but unfortunately I can't because I haven't discussed it yet on the show.
Right.
But I can tell you that, there's obviously the big square area that all of us are sitting in. And then if you'll notice, there's like another wall just past me. There's another.
You'll be back.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So let me ask you this. How do you know, for us people that don't understand these things very well, how do you know when you're on the floor? How do you know you've reached the bottom? No more artifacts?
So this was actually incredibly easy. There was some debate as to, would we know, essentially, because it was probably just going to be a dirt floor, and would that be evident after all these years? And actually what we came down on is whoever had used the structure had put down a layer of sand on the floor, probably to, keep stuff from spoiling or getting wet or damp or whatever. So once we hit this layer of sand, we were like, oh, well, there we go. And as soon as we removed it, then we were on this really hard pack, untouched soil. So it actually made our lives really easy.
Yeah, that would. Because I got thinking about that. I thought, well, how would they know? Because everything's so hard, so packed. I mean, you're scraping to get some of that dirt off.
Yeah.
How would you know when you hit the floor? And I thought, well, maybe when they run out of artifacts, they go, okay, we must be at the bottom. I don't know, so.
It really felt like we were going to be digging forever. But and I think we did, really. I mean, all summer long. But I mean, there's certainly kind of telltale signs as an archaeologist that we've hit what we call like the sea level or the sea horizon, where we hit, that's such a beautiful shot, where we hit a period of soil that we know as archaeologists, okay, this has never been dug in before. This has never been disturbed. This is going to be barren of any cultural activity.
Are you allowed to say what you think this? I think we touched on it last week, but this area here, are you allowed to say anything about what that might be?
I can tell you it's not a church.
Okay. All right.
I really, really am excited to talk about that rounded area, but unfortunately they haven't really talked about it on the show.
Okay. Yet. All right. Perfect.
When the time is right.
When the time is right. All right. Yep. Yeah. We have to be very careful of that. And I certainly do not want to be the reason that somebody got in trouble. So I may ask.
Because you're going to help me pay for the fines.
No. So as we move along now.
Yeah.
Moya, thank you. Moya did find what appeared to be blue clay. She's got some held in her hand right there. And this was the spot where she dug it out of there. And so blue clay.
Super exciting.
So, I mean, we've seen blue clay in a couple of different places on the island. We've seen it in the eye of the swamp. We've seen it in the money pit. Now we've seen it over here in the lot 5 feature. What are you allowed to talk about this at all, or?
So I can a bit. So as you mentioned, it's been found on several places in the island, and our amazing Terry will tell you that it is naturally occurring in some areas. However, in the middle of our man-made structure on lot 5, it was not naturally occurring. That's as far as I can go. That's that. I want to tell you everything because I thought
Yep,
it was really
nope.
interesting.
Nope.
But so we know that it's there for some reason. Helen even said in the show, well, why is there clay over here on the floor, but not over here or over here?
Mm.
That's
Because
where I
each
was
of us
going.
were down about the same depth. We were just in different areas. And Moya was the only one that struck clay. So it was intriguing.
That's the curious part, because it's now part of purposely put structure as opposed to just backfill from wherever.
Yeah.
How
I
did
did
it
not
taste?
taste the blue clay. I'm an archaeologist, not a geologist. I only lick rocks and bones and pottery. That's it.
Yeah,
Draw
there
the
you
line
go.
of dirt.
And find treasure. Yeah, you find treasure. So yeah, they showed this again, the artist rendition about how they found blue clay down in the money pit at 40 feet down on top of the logs, and that's about where the tide level is, right in that area too, isn't it, Tom? I think that's real
Well,
close.
40 feet down would be just slightly below sea level. So
Right. That's what I thought. So it can be used as a sealant. So but you're right, and that's something, Jamie, that you mentioned, that it is all around the area. We actually had Jeremy Church from Panther Geoscience made that same comment. There's a lot of clay in the area, and that's what causes those sinkholes when that clay starts to fall and creates those sinkholes in areas. So yeah, there is. And then we were asking Kat last night when we were in Discord about the clay, and she said, yeah, there's a lot of that clay around the area. So it's not something that's unusual to find in certain areas, not in
Yes.
the excavation that.
Yeah, some of the surrounding islands were actually used for clay mining
Oh wow.
to make the bricks that built Halifax, essentially. Oak Island was not one of those islands, but some of the surrounding islands were. So we know that like clay is absolutely naturally occurring in some of these areas, but this particular color of clay, this blue stuff, is different than the more maroon till, as Terry calls it, that you find in some of the other areas. So
especially when you don't find any other clay or similar things around it either.
yeah, this blue stuff is found in very low lying areas, so it's really interesting. Ever seen
Gary Metal Detect, where you've been working here?
Yeah, that's been on the show several times. Typically he doesn't detect like within our units, but occasionally we will call him in if there's an area that we're not necessarily sure if we should proceed with. He's definitely really helpful with that. And also sometimes we have the excavator move large rocks for us. And so we've had him come in and check the fill and stuff just to make sure that we didn't miss anything.
Yeah, great. That's a great point. Yeah, because we've seen Marty come in with the excavaco and pick out certain rocks and pull them out of there, so you guys can continue working in areas. So we know that does happen a little bit. And we talked earlier about Billy's trowel, and you got to drive the trowel, so you got to operate the big trowel too. That was really cool. That's a great story.
Yeah. Thank you, Scott Barlow, for teaching me how to use an excavator.
That would be awesome.
Yeah, I've done the big dump trucks before and a grader. And of course, my dad's a farmer, so tractors and stuff like that. But the excavator was really fun.
That'd be awesome. All right. So next, and one last question I wanted to ask you, if you can answer this. They talked about having the clay tested. Now, is that something that Emma would do? She would just run the scan to see what the makeup of it is? I mean,
yeah, so essentially she ran the data and then she gave it to Terry, and then her and Terry analyzed it and they got back to us. So we've got our amazing wizard in the lab plus our geologist, and we're good.
Perfect. All right. So we'll hope to see that come back and get some information on it. Again, it's one of those things we may never see or hear, but hopefully So next they go over to the war room, and this is where they get session number 2 with John Edwards. And the team is meeting again with John to hear about his theory that the Ark of the Covenant was buried on Oak Island. Last week, John presented documents to the team. We saw those. And this time he came back and actually gave him some points to look at, some GPS coordinates to check with the help of Stephen Guptill.
Mhm.
So it was interesting to see again. Now he jumps into the area talking about Nolan's cross and some measurements here. And I'm glad, that John would go through and explain these things because honestly, when it comes to this kind of stuff here, you've seen people that come out here before. Christopher Morford has taken and used the cross to try to find some answers or pinpoint where the treasure might be. We've had Aaron King has come out and done the same thing. Brian Farrow has been out and he used some measurements on there. So, but I'm glad that we go through and we look at some of these figures here and talking about the headstone. Now, I got a little confused on the headstone because generally the headstone would not be part of the cross. I guess they're calling it a headstone because it looked like it might have been carved similar to a
Yep.
head.
Some people say it was altered. Yeah.
Altered, yeah. And it also had like a sword, looked like it had been carved on it maybe at one point. But is it the position of where it's at? Does that have anything to, like, if it was the cross of Jesus, would that be where his head was? Is that
No, I
kind of
think we're talking about numerical symmetry, right?
okay? All right.
72 plus 72 divided by 2 times 4, whatever, but it's all in multiples of 72.
Okay.
So that
Um,
that, that would be an indicator to whoever found it, that being that depth or that distance of 144. Okay, we're in the right spot.
mhm. So it's very interesting to see this. Now, when you take this and you kind of jump onto the whole tree of life, um, uh, oh, this was just I grabbed this, so they were talking about that 72. But you jump onto that tree of life here, the 72. The Latin rule of the document 72 causes attributed to Bernard de Clairvaux and Hugh de Paynes is also as the specific behavior of the Templar order, outlines the ideal behavior of a knight. This was really cool because 72 was a very important number
Mhm.
to them. And again, this is part of this education that I'm getting by listening to folks like John Edwards and Christopher Morford and folks like that talking about these. I had no idea that 72 was an important figure. But all these numbers, when you look at this, when you add these up, 360 equals 720, and then you got 864, but they're all divisions of 72
Mhm.
divided by 72. Um, Very interesting there. And then you've got these points that are different points of the tree of life. Here's one picture of it that they displayed on there, and again another one here. Um, it was a very important thing to the Templars as well as I guess the alchemist. Were the alchemists using this too as well as
Don't know.
I don't remember that, but um, anyway, it was very important back then. Here's another look at it again. Can't read that one. But here's where he talks about these particular points. And again, I grabbed these because you can see a little bit of what John was saying they were about at the bottom of the screen here. Um, the dot is the infinite sharing of the light of God, and then you've got the Tiferet, Tiferet. That's the point of convergence.
Mhm.
So these 3 points are remember when when Tom Nolan asked John last week that he could identify, you can go out and you can identify, put X on the ground, put X on the spot. And John said X's,
Yep.
which I'm glad he said that because now you've got multiple spots that are of interest to look into. And that being one of them. And here you got with the 144, dividing these all up.
This makes the Nolan's Cross. If this all comes to fruition and what John says is true, I mean, we've always sort of admired the amount of time, effort, and work that went into positioning the rocks to make Nolan's Cross. If this all is true, then that amount of work just went up, by a huge amount. Because now we're not measuring and positioning 5 rocks. We're measuring and positioning, 9? Right? The amount of work that would have had to have gone into that, and manpower and planning to make that happen, to make that structure look like it does, would be amazing.
And there's a good question about feet and the metric system. I think they were using foot over there at that time.
Oh yes, yeah, it would have been feet. Yeah, metric system would be long after that. Yeah.
Yep. So, so these are the points of interest, and here they are laid out on the ground. When you look at Nolan's Cross, so you got the main part of Nolan's Cross, and I believe this one down here at the very bottom. This one here is the cone D. I think that's or cone E. That's the one on the bottom of Nolan's Cross. And then, of course, you got this one, and this one up here, and then the headstone, of course. So these other points are places that are not completely visible. Or this was the Kingdom Stone. Down, I think one of these are. That one there, I believe. And I'm a little off, might be a little off on that, but one of them was found by Petter Amundsen. He had them go out and look for a particular one that he saw down at the bottom of Nolan's Cross. And I think they found it.
Yep.
Or it seems as though they found it. Gretchen says, yes, they were using the imperial system of measurement, royal mile, foot, etc. Metric is later. Thank you, Gretchen.
Yeah, metric doesn't come around until 1795, but I guess it really comes down to when was Nolan's Cross put in.
Right.
Exactly, yeah. And what's interesting too is that when you go back and look at the map that John had found in that book, or was given that page of that book, you look at the Oak Island and you saw that it was divided up into lots. Now it's only got 16 on there. Was it 2 for every line, or 2 lots for every line, or whatever? Because there's 32. But you notice that there was no other landmarks besides 2 points on both the south and then looking at it from the north, but there was no Nolan's Cross drawn on there. Now, we know that map was drawn on there after 1824 when the book was published. So they didn't even know about Nolan's Cross at that point. No. Whoever drew that on there didn't know about Nolan's Cross.
Well, so in his survey, he also didn't make note of certain other stone structures that we are fairly certain predated his division of the lots. For instance, the wall up against Samuel Ball's lot, if you believe the carbon dating, it absolutely predated the division of the lots. So.
Yep. Very good point. One thing I wanted to point out now, and it may not mean anything at all, but I've been talking a little bit with the guys. This was Robert and Bob Leonard. Remember, they were on the island a long time ago, several years ago, and they were doing the nuclear magnetic resonance that was looked at from a satellite. And they brought this out, and they were showing the guys on the island. And I brought this up because, there was 2 points on here I thought were interesting. And I have been talking with Robert a little bit on some of this, but one of the points that they had was right here. M28, which is a highway in Michigan, but we'll go past that. This M28 was one of the points. You see all these other ones, M26, 25. M28 was right there. And and I asked Robert, I said, what was M28? Because we see, and I couldn't remember, because we see gold, gold's written over here, and copper and different things were found. That was a metal hit. That was a metallic hit. Probably not precious metal, but it was a metallic hit. And that's because you see that here's the eye, and you see this here, that little body of water right there. That's right in the spot where the guys were basically we're digging, because there's the eye and there's that little, it's right in that same area. I just thought that was interesting. I went back and looked at that picture to see how close are they digging to where that and that's the shoot, I got to get back to, I've forgotten how you pronounce that word, the Tiferet. Is that how it's
close enough?
Yeah, close enough. All right. So, I mean, does that help the case? Is that and if it's so these are all these in red are the points of interest that I think that John is telling them you need to look in these 3 points.
Yep.
The dot, the Tiferet, and Yasad. So drill here or dig here to see what you find because these are points of interest. Now, this one here, the dot, if they are going to do that one, I think somebody's outbuilding has got to get moved. I think that's on Nolan's
I don't know
outbuilding.
how I would feel about that.
Tom told him, go
For a
ahead.
good
Get out
cause. For a good cause.
there. Yeah, it's a good cause. Just tear it down,
We'll put it back when we're done.
Yeah, I mean, it's right where the
Cut
building
a hole
is.
in the floor right there, and we're gonna dig. Yeah.
Yeah. Get that going on there. So, um, Monty, I would too. Wouldn't that be interesting? Yeah, may happen one day. Stay tuned. It has actually been LiDAR before. The
Oh, yeah.
island actually has been LiDAR
Yep.
once before. I don't think, and I'm going to just throw my opinion out here. I'm sorry, folks. I'm going to throw my opinion out here that it could been done better with better equipment.
Oh,
That's a nice way to put it.
yeah,
It should be
level-
done again. Let's
Yeah.
just say that.
Thank you. Yes, it should be
The
done
type-
again.
the type of equipment and the software would just be increasing every year. So
Absolutely. Yep. Yeah. The software, everything gets better every year when it comes to technology like that. So, yeah. So we'll see, but I'm hoping that does happen. We'll let you know if it does. But here's an interesting point. They went out and they started to dig on this spot where John told them is one of the spots, and lo and behold, they found this big boulder in there. Now we know there's lots of boulders around, but the interesting thing about this particular one is what Jack and Billy Gerhardt were saying about it being, and you mentioned it earlier, Jamie. What did you call this? A sea?
The sea horizon.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Now we keep getting these new terms and I keep learning new things. But it's right above the sea, right above the bedrock, right?
Yes.
Okay. Now I'm not a geologist. I don't know why that boulder why that makes a difference. I don't know. Can you shed light on that, or is that something goes beyond your?
So again, I'm not a geologist either. But I don't agree with that interpretation.
Oh, okay.
How about I just say that?
Okay. All right. No, it was interesting because I didn't quite understand all that, when he was trying to explain it, but the sea horizon.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm going to have to, and I'm sure there's folks out there that have looked up sea horizon, what that actually means.
In archaeology, roughly, the A is usually, your plow zone, your current walking surface, that kind of thing. And it varies based on your location, the types of soil, that kind of thing. Your B is usually more like your historic walking surface, dirt that's gotten covered up over and over again. And depending on, flooding events and stuff like that, you can have multiple A's and B's the whole way. Your C is typically this undisturbed level of soil that nothing ever got there. Nobody ever dug into it. Nobody ever walked on it. Nobody ever dropped stuff in it because it's that old. And that stuff typically sits just on top of, your bedrock or your glacial till, that kind of thing.
Very interesting. Thank you for that. And again, it's one of those things that I just didn't completely understand what that means and why this boulder being there. But we're going to find out as we go further
What they
into.
were trying to imply with what they were thinking with their interpretation is that if it wasn't in the sea horizon, then it was placed there because that means that it was in the B horizon. The B horizon has had some sort of cultural interaction.
Yeah, that's what I took from it, is that they just thought it was in a spot that it wouldn't normally be.
Okay.
Yeah, had it been in the sea horizon firmly, they would have said, "Oh, yeah, no, it's this could be natural," but they feel that it was above. So,
yep, and that's one of the things that so often happens on the show where they get excited about something and we don't really completely understand why. Why did they get all excited about this? And it's because of, for me, it's because of my ignorance about the sea horizon and those kind of things. So that's always good to.
I would say just roll that sucker over and see if there's anything underneath it.
Yeah,
If
start
there's
keep
any
digging down.
branches
You already dug it up.
branch-
You might as well just roll it.
yeah,
Keep
if there's
going
any
down.
branches or trees or grass underneath it, then yeah.
Yeah, because they said it looks like it's been placed. It's been placed here. So okay.
That's what they were trying to get at.
Into B. Oh, where were you at when you were
Yes.
digging down? Yeah, just into B.
Yeah, A and B, and then when we hit C, we stop. That's what I was saying earlier, that as archaeologists, we're sort of trained to know the differences in soils,
Sterile soil, yeah.
texture, color, how dense it is. It's like, oh, yeah, no, this is sterile.
Oh, good deal. Thank you very much. That's why I just love having smart people on the show.
Well, I don't know how smart I am, but I'm definitely opinionated, so that must count for something.
Yes, no, I appreciate that very much. Thank you.
No, they would not need a permit to roll the rock. It's on Tom's property. They can launch it into space with Tom's permission.
Ah, nice. All right. Going back to that number 72, and I got these from Christopher Morford. And again, he mentioned that he had posted these out on his Facebook page, and he was talking about 72 and how he agrees that number is very, very important. And it talks about 72 being mercy to the so that again, a very, very important number to them. And so it goes along with this here. And this is one of the things that I think Chris was saying, and I, he gave me the okay to say that if by chance, and I think they have because they talked about it in the description of the coming shows about some kind of find from the money pit locations that I believe John is, they didn't say it specifically that John gave them. There's some interesting finds, but another two is number 4 and number 5, the Mercy and severity.
Yeah.
Severity.
Mm-hmm. That's what I would say,
Mercy, the value of 72 and severity 216. So he said those would be also good points to look.
Yep.
So yeah.
Oh, if that entire structure is there, I'd be turning over every rock to.
You betcha I would.
An old expression. If you can show me, if you can get Steve Gupple to put his little stake on that rock, we're turning that sucker over.
We're digging. We're digging. We're going down deep. Yeah. Does the variations of 72 also go for depth? Oh, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know the answer to that. Check them all. Yep, that's what the coach says. Check them all. And yep, that's what John says. Exactly. So, I mean, obviously, and again, it goes back to what I had been saying about Nolan's Cross since the beginning of this podcast years ago, was that if somebody put those cones there, and they're not going to do it just for the fun of it and say, hey, wow, we just made a cross. All right. What's for lunch? They went through a lot of effort to put those cones in that place to mark that out. It has to mean something. So dig every one of them. Find every single one of these points. Dig every one of them. If there's a rock there, dig it.
If you got the swamp drained and you got the permission to be on the land, it'd be a waste of time if you didn't.
You got Tom's okay.
Yeah, go ahead. You need something signed, just send it to me. I'll sign it, send it back.
Yep. You got Tom Nolan's okay. Just dig. If you got to move his garage out of the way, then sorry, Tom, we're moving the garage because we're digging.
Poor Tom. He's trying to enjoy his vacation home.
This is the 216, and I grabbed this from him too. If you want to check it out, go to Christopher Morford's Facebook page. You can check these out. He has a very good explanation of these, but this has to do with the 216 here that he just mentioned. But it again, really interesting stuff. These researchers again, they spend so much time digging into this, and their level of being able to read these things and find these things, and or Jake Roberts, and decode these things and find messages. And John does this as well. John Edwards does it as well. He works with Jake quite a bit, and deciphering things and noticing things on maps or in the Bible, 1611 King James Version of the Bible. They find these little clues all over the place in there. It's just, it blows me away how they can pinpoint all this stuff. It's just really, really interesting. So the last portion of this, they jump back into the war room, and this is at the end of the show, the last war room session. And we'll see from John, we'll see in the next week or so what they find. We're closing out the season. We're down to probably 4 more episodes, I think. If this was 20, they've done 24 the last couple of years.
Yep.
So if they do 24 again, we've got 4 left.
Probably
So,
get a digging down or digging deeper to wind the season up with Maddie
Yeah.
or something. But
exactly. So we're getting close to the end, and then Jamie can come back and talk about all the stuff she
I
found.
can tell you everything.
Woo-hoo! Can't wait for that show. That'll be exciting.
Prometheus just had a heart attack. Felt a disturbance in the forest. We're like, no.
I am so excited about that. I am. Okay, so we go into the war room, and this is where they're going back in time a little bit, and they're looking at an artifact that was found. And it was clarified a little bit as they talked about this, and it was said, this isn't the artifact. This is the wrapping that was on the artifact.
Mhm.
And I thought that was an interesting way to say it. So this was the copper that had been, what did they call that technique? I know it's in her notes here.
Not press mold. Yeah, but basically
Press
it's like
black.
a thin veneer.
Press black. Yeah.
Yeah, I was trying to find it. I know it's in her notes here because
It is.
Ann doesn't miss this kind of stuff. But yeah, it was pressed over something, and it has these symbols on it. And a lot of us, when this first came out, I was very excited about it. But again, I couldn't find any matches. Yeah, it's kind of like gilding, Ron. Kind of a little bit like gilding. It would be like when they put gold leaf on something to gild it. They put that on there. This was something similar to that, but it gave the press black.
Press black.
Press black. Yeah, press black. Okay, there it is. It is in her notes. Press black.
Mhm.
All right. You're gonna have to bolden that for me next time because I can't see it with my old eyes. So we go through and they look at this and they're like, okay, this was what it looked like when they first found it. It was folded over a couple of times, so it was really hard to make out what the heck did it have a front and a back. And then they had Dr. Edwin Barnhart take a look at it again, and so they took these symbols and they found other symbols like it around. And as this was Doug going off in his research, so they found this one. Now we've seen that circle with a dot in the center
Circle
before,
with the
haven't
dot.
we? Tony?
Yep, that's gold.
Means like the sun or gold.
Mhm.
And then you've got this one down here. You can see another one over here on this side right here. Looks just like it, that has a circle with a V underneath it.
Mhm.
Something similar to that. So you're trying to figure out exactly what does this mean. But it was found something similar to it. Here you go. Now you're looking at this piece here. You've got there it is. There's a circle with the dot in it. And then I was calling it a head with horns on it, which kind of scary. And that's
So it
all.
looks like.
Well, it's actually the same symbol for Taurus in astrology. So
Taurus?
it is a head with horns in
Oh.
astrology.
You said forest?
Taurus.
Oh, Taurus. Taurus. Okay, sorry. Taurus. The bull. Yeah, that makes sense. Renee, Taurus. Okay, everybody's fixing me. They're helping me out there. So the interesting thing about it was that he said it could be Viking. And again, if that's the case, that's awesome, because we are really starting to get into this whole area with the Vikings and the Templars now involved in this. And that would take your dates back way further back in time if you got the Vikings. And we know the Vikings have been around north of Nova Scotia.
They didn't source the copper though, did they? They didn't do the same thing they did with the lead. They didn't source the lead, or they didn't source the copper.
Just to say it wasn't from around there.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
I'm
don't believe they've
wondering.
done laser ablation on it yet.
Right.
Or if they have, they certainly didn't tell me.
I would be curious to know, because so many people have said that the Templars and the Vikings made it up to St. Lawrence into Michigan. And
Yeah,
wasn't there
I heard that's
significant copper mining going on up there?
Oh yeah. You've got Copper Harbor up in the Keweenaw Peninsula in the UP
Mm.
there. That is actually the place that has the purest copper ever found anywhere in the world.
So can you imagine if they could try and tie that one place to the other, just to that place or wherever it's sourced from? But
Mhm.
that's what I thought of. If we're going to get back into that Templar Viking era,
Mhm.
and they're traveling up to that way.
I know that it did just come back from the conservator.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe they were just waiting for that to be done before they had the ablation done. But it was at the conservator for about a year. Like it takes a long time to do that.
Oh, I imagine so. Yeah, that was really interesting to me. To find that and then be able to, because I know I did. I went around and I looked a little bit. I didn't spend a lot of time, probably not like Doug,
Mm.
but I spent a little bit of time trying to find those symbols somewhere in the world to figure out what the heck it was. And I'm sure a lot of other people did as well. So I'm really glad that Doug was able to find what he did. Then they started talking about this particular piece of technology from back in the day of the astrolabe. Um, and I'm like, what? I and again, we keep coming across this technology that I have never heard of before. I heard that name, but I had no idea what it was.
No.
And he found similar markings on this particular version. Now, there's a lot of them out there that we found, and how this thing works, I have no idea. But you see people looking through them. There'd be like a line, you could follow this line on it, and I'm gonna have to have somebody that really knows about these
I think it's
things
kind of
someday
like a sextant or something you can use to
Yeah.
get your bearings.
to get your bearings. So he found these. You can see these little highlighted points on here where they found similar. You got the circle, and you've got that Taurus type symbol shown. Here's all over this thing. So he's able to tie it back to the sextant replaced these. Oh,
Oh, there you go.
there you go.
That was
Cool.
close.
Thank you, Zane. Yeah. Um, I kind of looked around just on the internet just to see what I could find, and there's a lot of different versions of these. Um, okay. Sigurd's ancestors were mining copper in Lake Michigan from 1180 to 1300 AD. Can't wait to see the origin of this copper plating.
I'm with
Interesting.
you, Gretchen.
There you go. Yeah, like I said, up there in the Keweenaw Peninsula, the purest copper anywhere in the world is found there. So, yeah, so I've been up there, two of them. There's another one talking about Royal National Park. Yep, Lake Superior. A large runestone was found by a Scandinavian farmer in Minnesota. Yep, I heard about that as well. It had been under a huge tree with the roots imprinted on it, or so in the early 1900s. Yeah, I think so. I remember hearing about that as well. Um, too many coincidences, as we say, Coach. No such thing. Here's another version of these things. There was quite a few of them around. Different other people making them, and I thought this one was interesting. It had different plates, different inserts for different weather conditions, I guess, and different seasons. So
The different seasons I could see, because your
yeah,
stars, your moon, your sun, everything will shift throughout the year, right?
right, exactly. So they had different inserts you could take and pop in. Oh, it's March, so I need to put in the March insert. I don't know how many there were.
The first daylight savings time, yeah.
Yeah. Yep. So interesting thing. So one of these days I'm going to have somebody that really knows about these come on and talk about them a little bit and explain this to us, because very, very curious devices for sure. Let's see. So as the show wraps up, you get to see you got a chance to look where they were actually digging, and that is just up north of the eye of the swamp, where they're at right there in this particular picture. And then next time on the Curse of Oak Island, they find this circle of stones. And that's where, I don't know if that's where that boulder was. They took the boulder out, or if this is one of the other spots. Again, due to the wonders of editing, we just don't know exactly which one of John Edwards' points this was to look at. But they said, yeah, that's just where John said to look. And they found a circle of stones there. So hopefully we'll find out more about that next week. But I like the fact that they are finding some things that John pointed them to. So we'll see how they come to fruition here. And then this gentleman here shows this little thing. I tried so hard to get a picture of it. Because it was just, I mean, there was arms moving across and you really couldn't see what it was. There's a quick little shot of it, but it had like a
little
sharp
tail on it too. Yeah.
yeah, a sharp point with a little tail on it. It kind of almost looked like some form of a arrowhead or a spearhead or something. That's what it kind of looked like to me.
Yeah,
What did you make of it, Tom?
It looked to me like something that you would drive into an arrow or a spear or something like that to give it a point.
Right.
That's why the tail end would be smaller. You could drive it into something. That's just my guess. I have no idea.
We'll find out. A crossbow bolt. Yeah, Mark said a crossbow bolt. Could be something like that. And why is it significant? And if somebody else had it, then he's showing it to them. So right off the bat, I'm thinking, okay, somebody else had this. It wasn't something found on the island because somebody else had it. And he's showing it to the team. So, could it be something that was found from Scandinavia that somebody has found and say, we're showing they were here, they were in.
I can't remember how they prefaced that when they
were
talking about that. I thought they said somebody had found, but I'd have to go back and listen to it again.
Yep. And then they get another overseas trip. They're going over to meet up with Corian Mole. And Corian wants to take them to this place right here. And I can't wait to find out what this is all about. And you heard Marty say, one of the comments that Marty said was, you're going to find answers overseas, something to that effect. And they always do. Every time they go over there, they find more answers, more things that leads them back to Oak Island that are connection between over there and the island. So, oh, you did. Okay, let me take a look real quick.
Always go back to the source.
Oh, is this? Oh, look at that. Here it is. Let me bring this up for you. Yeah, Linda just sent that. So that's it, huh? Wow. I was trying to get a picture of it and I couldn't get one. They must have shown this one somewhere else. But yeah, it goes along with just what Tom was just saying. Some sort of a spear point head or a crossbow bolt head that you would drive in.
What didn't look to be that big. So I'm thinking, depending on the size of like a crossbow or something like that, could easily be
about 2 inches, 2 inches, 3 inches at the most long.
Not very long.
From one end to the other. So that'd be interesting to see what that's all about. We'll get to find out next week on the show about that one. And where are they going? That's the Netherlands, right? Was that where they're going? The Netherlands?
Yep.
That's right, where Corian Mole is from. So a spear tip. Yeah, it could be some sort of a spear tip, Ron. There's Corian with his books, the Jerusalem Files. And again, if you haven't read that book, you should. It's a really, really good book. And is it, I don't want to give away the book if you haven't read it, but they say right on the book, it says right on there, the Jerusalem Files, the secret journey of the menorah to Oak Island. Okay. So it says right there on the top. So if these guys have researched out, Corian and Christopher Morford have researched out the menorah making its way from Jerusalem across and to Oak Island, is it a stretch what John is saying that the Ark of the Covenant may very well have followed that same path?
Here's what the book looks like there.
Yeah, that's the book there. And right where his finger is, you see the secret journey of the menorah to Oak Island. So, and I tell you what, folks, if you have not read this book, this is a good book.
Amazing detail in history.
Amazing detail in there. And they do show their references.
They show their work.
Clear about it.
They definitely
So,
show the work.
yeah, they show where they found all the information on in here. And like I said, is that a stretch then to say that the Ark of the Covenant did not maybe follow a same type of a path? So we don't know. We don't have the proof of it yet, but I don't think it's a stretch. I really don't. Because you know that the Templars revered these things, and you know that they wanted to get them out of over there and hide them somewhere
Mhm.
so that they could be, held
Yep.
for when they were needed.
Until somebody puts their hands on it and holds it up in the air, it's series
still
open to anybody with a
right,
little bit of logic.
right. So whether you believe John or whether you believe Corian and Christopher or not, if you're interested in this stuff, read it. I know that John's probably working on a book too. We'll probably see that in the future someday if he is. That will explain more detail. But we'll see. We still got a couple episodes left to go. We'll find out exactly what he has come up with. So that's it for us. Jamie, thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
You're going to come up again, right? I would like to have you back. I
Sure.
know there's a big find coming up in the lot 5 again.
That's what I hear. It's yeah, I think I kind of have an idea what they're talking about in the preview. So
All right.
wait
Well, we
and
got a
see.
couple more. We're going to keep on doing these every Tuesday night right through the end of the season. And then, of course, Wednesday night. The show is on Tuesday night. And then we're figuring there's about 4 more to go. And then we're going to jump over to Skinwalker Ranch, which comes out on April 23rd is the premiere episode. I don't know if there's going to be a Curse of Oak Island on at 9 and then Skinwalker Ranch on at 10. But we will be working on that as well. We'll be talking about Skinwalker Ranch when that comes out and season premiere. We're going to be talking about a few things leading up to it. We got Shannon DeSalvo and also Mike Owen are going to be working with us to go through that show. So really, really looking forward to it. But we are going to have more information and more things to talk about with the Curse of Oak Island throughout the summer months as well. So we hope you'll join us right here the J Free 906 podcast, and we're going to get Jamie back on when the season's done so she can tell all.
Or sooner. Or sooner.
Or sooner. Well, yeah. Well, I'm hoping she'll come back on. What was it? What we were looking at? The 9th?
Sure.
We'll work it out. We'll work it out.
Yeah, we'll work it out. We'll work it out. We'll get it going. All right. Thank you, folks, for being here with us tonight. Again, if you haven't already, please give us a thumbs up. Let us know how we're doing. That kind of gives us a gauge of if you like the show or not, if you like the content. We appreciate that very much. And if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. We appreciate that as well. Again, thank you, Tom. Thank you, Jamie. And thank you, Linda and Jan and everybody for being here with us. And we'll catch you next time right here on the J Free 906 podcast. Good night, everyone.
All right. Thanks, Jan.